sometimes to experience God to the full, we just have to let something die. We have to let something go. And one of the ways that we can hinder the work of God in our lives to experience Him to the full is we can just hang on to things that Jesus is saying, let go of. That is, we try to keep something alive that He's saying, just let it die. What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about to experience God. Often, something has to die first. However, it's possible, even likely for us as Christians to filter the spiritual matters of life, all the things of life that we experience. It's possible for us to filter all those things through just a human perspective only. And it might be that God is calling us and saying, listen, there's something that you're doing that I want to die. I want you to let go of that thing, whatever it is, right? Get rid of it. Let go of it. Let it die. And yet, the whole time, we're no longer operating in a spiritual capacity. We're operating in the flesh. And we're thinking, well, why in the world? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why should we let that die? Why should I stop doing that? Why should I let that go? That doesn't make any sense. We're in Peter's world. We're in Peter's world. And this can happen really in any area of our lives, where it's possible for us to look at the realities, the happenings of our life through what I would call a natural lens, or what the Scripture would call the flesh. And we're not hearing from God. We're not really looking for God. We love God. We want to glorify Him, but we're not actually paying attention to Him in the moment. We're just carrying on, just doing life here in this world. But the reality is, there is no such realm in our life that's not spiritual, that shouldn't be viewed through what God is saying to us and what He's doing. C.S. Lewis put it this way. He said, there's no neutral ground in the universe. I think this is one of the great lies we believe. That sometimes when we carry on from day to day and we're not really paying attention to God that much, we kind of think it's neutral ground. And it's really not. He says every square inch, every split second is claimed by God, and it's counterclaimed by Satan. This is why Jesus said in one place, either you're for me or you're against me. Right? There is no kind of in-between space. And it's really easy for every one of us, myself included, to move into this place that we think is just a neutral place where we're, I'm not doing any harm, or I'm not, whatever. But if we're not hearing from God, we're not following His lead in our life, we've kind of crossed over into this place of unintentional, often opposition to God. We're going against His ways. We're opposing what He's up to because we're operating in the flesh. And if we're not intentional, we get into a place where, like a place of really rebuke, where God's like, hey, right? Get away from me, Satan. And He's not saying you. He's saying the way you're functioning is an allegiance with Satan. Get that out of your life. Don't do that. Don't allow him to influence you, to lead you, to guide you, because right now you're just seeing things from a human perspective only. And that doesn't sound so bad, but Jesus says a human perspective only is, it sounds rough, but I got to say, it's satanic. A human perspective only is satanic, according to Jesus. So it's like, I'm not sure that I ever thought about it that way. One of the ways that we can get off into a human perspective only is that it's possible for us, as we talk about today, how can we experience God? Well, sometimes to experience God to the full, we just have to let something die. We have to let something go, and that He's calling us to let go of. And one of the ways that we can hinder the work of God in our lives to experience Him to the full is we can just hang on to things that Jesus is saying, let go of. That is, we try to keep something alive that He's saying, just let it die. Because to us, it doesn't make any sense to let it go, to let it die. Maybe part of your struggle could be that you are hanging on to some dream that you got along the way somewhere, and God says, that wasn't my dream for you. I mean, I'm starting with me because that's my heart. I love to dream. I love the vision. I love to carry things out. And God may be saying to you, dreamers, visionaries, that, hey, I never gave you that dream, so I need you to let that go. I need you to let that die. Or maybe there is something that you're hanging on to in the form of a relationship of some kind, and you're trying to make this thing work, and you're trying to like prop it up, and God's like, hey, I never told you to get in that. I never told you to be in that connection or that relationship. And you need to let that thing die. Maybe it is a grudge, something negative, right? Sinful. It's a grudge you're holding. It's unforgiveness that you're holding onto towards somebody for something that they said or did towards you. Jesus says, let it go, let it die. And the reason why Jesus tells us to let these things go, to let them die, is that the promise is I have something better for you. I have something more rewarding. If you just let that thing go, I have better life for you. A more fulfilling life for you if you will let this thing die. There's another time where Jesus is talking about this need to just let something go. Let it die. And he's speaking about his own life. And then he says, in the process of letting this thing go, in the process of letting it die, something really good is going to come from it. And he begins again to talk about his own death. And he says this in John chapter 12. It's probably one of the most, one of the most meaningful passages in Scripture because Jesus shows us the way of self-sacrifice and laying down our lives. He says, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of a wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. In other words, it's just a seed on a shelf, in a bag. However, if it is planted in the ground and dies, its death will produce many new kernels. Right? A plant comes up and there's all this fruit and things that come from it, all kinds of seeds, a plentiful. And then he transitions into something that gets to the heart of what he's really talking about. And he says a plentiful harvest of new lives will come. Jesus is saying, listen, he's talking about himself, if I die, a plentiful harvest of new lives will come from it. In church, I don't know how much we like to think about this. It is hard to think about sometimes, but this is actually largely the way of Jesus. The call to our lives. He's like, if you will lay down your life, right? If you will lay down your life, a harvest of new lives will come from it.